In the plains of Texas,
Whoa!
a disgusting creature terrorizes ranchers.
It's a creature unlike they've ever seen before.
They are pretty gruesome looking.
They're really scary.
Night after night, the same scene, animals drained of their blood.
The chicken was opened only in its thorax area. All told, I lost 28.
The perpetrator, the Chupacabra.
Be sure we have a full clip. Let's go.
Texas, an oil-rich state in the southern United States, marked by vast plains and stunning scenery. Here, the cowboys are not mere movie characters. Cattle breeding is a big part of life in the countryside. For 30 years, ranchers have anxiously awaited the comings and goings of a mysterious creature with protruding fangs, the Chupacabra. It was in the village of Ratcliffe that the monster was last seen.
Would you go turn the chili off?
Jackie and Arnold Stoke were among the most recent witnesses.
My husband has a habit. If he wakes up during the night, he will come to the patio door and shine a flashlight out in the yard to see if any animal out. He just enjoys that.
And I like to look at the deer and the feral hogs, and I like to shoot feral hogs. That's one of my things I really like to do.
One night, well, it was Friday night, he woke me up. It was after midnight.
And that thing was sitting up in there eating corn, and I called Jackie, and I said, Jackie, I said, come here and look at this thing. I ain't never seen nothing like it.
And he was sitting on the squirrel feeder eating corn.
When you spot a raccoon, the eyes glow real bright. And this here didn't have no shine to it. And that's what kind of told me, I don't know what we got here, because the eyes didn't shine. And that was really strange, but also the next night it was back again. I didn't know what to think. I looked at that thing, I'd never seen anything like it. I know it's ugly, very ugly. It's got a long nose, something similar to what we have. You know, it's just something I've never seen before.
Like I said, I've lived here most of my life and had never seen anything like this.
I live right up the hill here, about 300 or 400 yards. She called my house one day and said, hey, we got a funny looking animal out here. And so I came down. I was a little shocked because, like I say, I've never seen anything quite like this before.
When I was a little girl growing up, we've always heard of the myth of Chupacabra. And I said, kind of jokingly, I said, well, I don't know, it looks like a baby Chupacabra. Since this happened, so many people have told us that they have been seeing them.
This is a hot spot for the sightings and the people that shoot them within a 15-mile radius of Ratcliffe here.
Ratcliffe has about 20 houses, 100 residents, and no industry. 10 kilometers from this hamlet lies the town of Cuero, with 6,700 inhabitants and a 200-year history. Wayne Addix, a retiree who serves as president of the local Heritage Museum, is passionate about his city's heritage.
The mission of the museum is to tell the story of the history of Cuero and tell about its people. Cuero is a very volunteering town. Many people are here doing things to make the town a better place. There's a regular group that meets at the Dairy Queen. There's people who meet at the Wild Turkey in the evening. We do have our places where you can go get a good beer. There's, of course, church. Cuero is a very religious-based community, and we probably have over 30 churches in the town. The county itself is a major producer of beef, one of the largest shippers of beef in the country. Many of them are long-term family ranches. Some areas of the country, they've been taken over by big corporations. Here, they're still mostly family ranches.
Ratcliffe and Cuero are a part of DeWitt County, an area of 910 square kilometers that has gradually become the playground of the terrifying Chupacabra. Most of the sightings have come from this area.
The Chupacabra has been reported from Puerto Rico to Maine, and so it's not unique to this area. I would say that we seem to see more sightings in most places. No, I have not seen one myself, so I'm totally dependent on what's been published in the newspaper or on the web. You see the pictures of it, and when I first saw it, I thought, oh my goodness, that's really shocking to see. And they are pretty gruesome looking and pretty fierce looking.
Wayne Addix is not the only one to fear this terrifying creature. In DeWitt County, and especially in Cuero, the Chupacabra is the subject of every conversation. On a ranch on the outskirts of Cuero lives a true animal lover, Dr. Phyllis Canyon.
Certified nutritional consultant, doctor of naturopathic medicine, animal enthusiast, outdoorsman, and I love life. I hunt anywhere that I have a chance to. This is a Burchell zebra from Namibia. A zebra is a very, very difficult and very challenging animal. This is a bobcat that was taken on this ranch. In the beginning, I thought it's what was taking my chickens until I shot him one night. And the next night, a chicken was killed and he was dead. So then I knew I had something different.
What frightening creature attacked Dr. Canyon's chickens?
I came home and one of the chickens was dead. And it's like, now this is really bizarre that the chicken would have been left dead there. Any predator is going to pick the animal up and carry it off. All the prime meat is still on the chicken. The chicken was opened only in its thorax area. So I got a white rag and I dabbed the area and there was no blood on the rag. And I thought, oh my gosh. So what would kill the animal and really be only intense at drinking the blood or sucking the blood? After the 7th chicken I found in the exact same fashion, then I began to ask the neighbors, and immediately everyone said, oh my gosh, Dr. Canyon, that is the Chupacabra. And I'm like, what, the Chupa what? And they said, a Chupacabra, that's a bloodsucker. And he said, it's a Chupacabra, you've never heard of this? And I'm like, I have no idea. And it's like, well, it's a goat sucker. And I'm like, a goat sucker? And he said, yes, it kills the animal by sucking the goat's blood. I never heard the word ever in my life.
According to various testimonies, the Chupacabra has a menacing canine jaw, sharp fangs to help suck the blood of its prey, black and gray skin, and red eyes, similar to those of the devil. Some claim the creature moves on 2 legs. Others believe they saw thorns covering its exterior. In short, a terrifying creature that bears no resemblance to known species in the region. In 2007, Dr. Canyon spotted a strange creature on her land, one that even she could not identify.
It's like, whoa. First time I saw this beast was right out there where that little green tuft of grass is. It was about this time of the day, so the sun was really shining on it, and I could see it didn't have any hair. And it trotted off and went in between the house and the barn. And that was it. Just kept looking back at me along the way. And then I drove up and tried to go around to see if I could see where he went, and I couldn't. And it's like, OMG. And it's like, okay, who do I tell that to? We had just gotten back from Africa, and it's like, wow, we saw a lot of weird stuff in Africa, and none of it looked like that. And it's like, you know, this is something different. And then the story began. I didn't say anything to anyone because I thought, well, people are gonna think I'm loony.
My name is Emily Booker. My daughter Phyllis came across this strange animal. We don't know where it came from. She happened to see one of the first ones, and she's been interested in it ever since.
I kept seeing an animal on the ranch that I did not know what it was. I didn't know why its behavior was what it was. But the more people that I told what was happening with my chickens, all told I lost 28, they all kept saying the same word, Chupacabra. And that's when I started to think, man, this is something really different, but why me? Am I the only one that's seeing it? Why on this ranch? Because this is nothing but ranch land around here.
For Dr. Canyon, a lifelong hunter, there is one trophy missing from her collection. But one summer day 7 years ago,
a neighbor rancher called me about 7 o'clock one Saturday morning, and he said, hey, you know that animal that you've been seeing, that Chupacabra? Somebody hit it on the road right in front of our ranch.
Her luck suddenly changed.
So I wanted to maintain the body so that we have it to always look at. And the smell is quite strong. And this is the tail that we preserved because the tail is so long, and that is very, very unusual. Just a genetic disposition in that particular type of animal for sure. That is the real thing. This was the Phoenix newspaper. This was in the Houston Chronicle.
News of the monster's corpse traveled around the world. Since that day, Phyllis Canyon has been nicknamed the Chupacabra Lady by the media.
People hear about it and correspond with her about it and want to know more about it. School children write about it. It's just been phenomenal.
My name is Amanda Brown. I'm an anchor, producer, and a reporter. Well, basically, people started saying they've been seeing chupacabras on their land. And that's when, you know, news stories started popping up. And these are stories that will go nationwide, even international, because that's how much people are interested in them.
And things have not been the same since. I'm an old newspaper woman, so I save clippings of everything. And over the years, as you can see, it's just accumulated, and all of these clippings are from places all over the world.
Do I have an animal background? No. I have been an outdoorsman all my life. And how I got deemed the Chupacabra Lady, I'm not sure if there is anyone that has done as much research into the animal and has had something to correlate some of its abnormalities to.
And this has been going on for 7 years, and the interest has not waned one bit. People are still interested in the Chupacabra.
The picturesque town of Cuero was founded in 1870 thanks to the arrival of the railway. The perfect backdrop for a film, for a Western, or for a horror movie.
And even before the railroad got here, they started construction on housing and stores. And then as soon as the railroad arrived, business was going. And it became a fairly rowdy town. There were up to, well, over 30 saloons. Gunfighters came to town. It was a rough and tumble place, which over time slowed down, but even into the 40s and 50s, the West Main was known as the tough area of town. All you have to do is walk down Main Street and look at the buildings. It feels like walking a time. The town is filled with Victorian homes. Many of these homes were built by ranchers whose family didn't want to live out on the ranch. They wanted to live in town and have the benefits of the town.
And just like in the Wild West, everything is possible, even monsters. Beginning in their childhood, locals hear about the Chupacabra.
So down in South Texas, I've heard about the Chupacabra since I was a little girl. And you go to, neighbor's house, oh, you better behave, a Chupacabra will come get you. And you just are like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna stay inside when it gets dark. So.
My name is Anthony Natardis. I'm the County Extension Agent for Agriculture in DeWitt County. What I know on the Chupacabra, I grew up in South Texas. I'm 46 years old, and I can remember hearing that as long as I've been alive. And I've seen different things, where something will be in the newspaper or on TV of Chupacabra sightings.
The origins date back to the 1990s. In Puerto Rico, a bunch of goats and chickens were found dead. And I guess the farmer claimed that a Chupacabra sucked the blood out of his animals, and that's kind of where it started. I feel like the first news story was reported sometime around that time, but from then on, I think stories started spreading and sightings of the El Chupacabra just kept going on and on and on, and media started covering more and more stories of these sightings.
But how could this monster migrate from Puerto Rico to Texas? No one has found an answer to this puzzle.
So how did it get here? Nobody knows. It is truly a very deep-seated mystery.
The typical description around here is a hairless, weird-looking canine. That's what people are calling the Chupacabra.
People say it's a creature unlike they've ever seen before. It's got sharp fangs, long nails, hairless. It's on 4 legs. It's scary. And a lot of people in South Texas do believe in the Chupacabra because there's a lot of farmers, a lot of ranchers that have livestock. So they keep their guns with them, just in case something runs along the field that they don't know, and they will shoot it. Some people even have some stuffed in their houses.
Stuffing and mounting a Chupacabra? Who but Dr. Phyllis Canyon would undertake that?
And if people made fun of me, yes. And they're like, really, Dr. Canyon? Really? A Chupacabra? Give me a break. And then I say, you come look at it in my house, and you tell me what you think it is. Of all the things that we've had the pleasure and the challenge of hunting around the world, the Chupacabra definitely brings in more questions than anything that we have hanging on the wall. This is it. We had the animal mounted in this form because this is how it always appeared to be walking.
Animal or monster? According to Dr. Canyon, certain of its characteristics bear no resemblance to any other living animal.
It appeared to have somewhat of a hump in its back. When we actually measured the legs, the front legs are about 1.5 inches shorter than the back legs. These are the nodules that are on the rear end that we still do not know what they are. We don't know what the stripes on the leg are. That has 2 nipples here, but it does not have the back 2. And that would be about as unusual as a human only having 1 breast. And we confirmed that when we actually taxidermied and took the hide off of the body. There were no mammary glands going there. So a very unusual feature, and one that has been consistent on all 4 that we've come in contact with in this ranch, in this area. One thing that we really didn't understand was why it has so much extra skin on the forehead part. The top mandible, you can see, is about 1.5 inches longer than the bottom mandible. It's like, how can that be? Is that one of the reasons that maybe it craves blood and it does not crave the meat? That's just one of the mysteries that we just don't know. And then the blue eyes, and they are beyond blue. So again, we talk about not having any hair on it. As you can see, there's no hair anywhere on it, yet When you get the right angle, you can see the amount of fuzz that covers the body. But all of these features are extremely, and in some cases almost bizarre, with the nipples and the nodules on its butt end that we just don't see on animals anywhere that I have traveled, and certainly on anything that we have in Texas. Pretty bizarre. Mystery continues.
Despite the capture of what appears to be the body of a chupacabra, Dr. Phyllis Canyon continues to search for the monster, regularly walking the dirt roads of her ranch in hopes of catching one alive.
I have been a hunter all my life.
She started out hunting birds when she was old enough to shoot a BB gun. Just a little BB gun. I mean, she could do worlds with that thing. And now they just hunt the big stuff.
And while my husband says, you know, we have to stop hunting, our walls are full, I do see a lot of bare space.
She's not afraid of anything.
I always have a firearm with me, because if we have a chance that there is something there that doesn't need to be there, then we shoot it. That's just what we do in Texas, and I love that. It's great to do it. It's a relief buster.
Well, I guess one of her favorite things is hunting chupacabras, but
we'll get the pistol.
Very, very good at what she does.
We'll get the rifle. And we'll be sure we have a full clip. Let's go. So we'll just drive around and see what we can find.
It was just a few meters from her home that she first laid eyes on this amazing creature.
I'm going to take you and show you where I saw the chupacabra for the very first time. Well, this is the chupacabra pastures. Watch this. When they hear that, they know that I am here. Hi, girlies. When I saw them up in the front, the animals were around and they didn't seem to be bothered. Now, there are some animals that might scare it off, but that's what makes it really interesting.
According to Dr. Canyon, patience and a keen sense of observation are the essential qualities of a good hunter.
I can sit and watch animals for hours and their behavior. It, to me, is so fascinating. Well, I mean, you never know. When you hunt, you just never know. I mean, maybe you'll not see anything. Maybe you'll see something different. That's just the thrill of hunting. Right there with her baby. That's a fawn. Maybe. Never know when you drive around what you may jump up. That's what we call jumping them up. Oh, there's jackrabbits. Look at them hopping off. How cute is that? I mean, when they put their ears back, they're hard to see.
But according to some wildlife experts, Dr. Canyon's quest is futile.
We're in an area here that's somewhat unique in that we're in a transition zone between the Gulf Coast prairies and what we call the South Texas brush. The habitat here changes, and so therefore we have a change in kind of wildlife. It's very diverse. As a result, you have things in nature where you have diseases that create chupacabras. That's fine for those people that are into those mythical things. I think that's great. I think it brings a sense of a little bit of notoriety to the area or the particular person that found it. But again, there's been no science that has found that it is, in fact, some mythical creature.
after I saw it a couple of times, there was never a time that I was not always looking for it. I mean, I'd come up here and look around at all the tracks that are here and see what tracks are unusual and what tracks do we recognize. Because there'll be deer tracks and there are hog tracks and there are raccoon tracks. A lot of deer tracks. Yeah, I always come around and just look and see if there's anything different, anything that we would not, that I usually don't see. And then you get a track like this that's actually different. Here, that's a big animal, whatever that is. You can see its toe prints with its toenails sticking there. That's really weird. That's big. And there's a giant snake going into the water right there. Wow. That's really cool. Sometimes you're lucky and sometimes you're not, so. So see, when you go out to hunt, you never know. We've seen deer, we've seen snakes, we've seen the jackrabbits. All is missing is the chupacabra.
Jackie and Arnold Stokes were luckier than Dr. Canyon. They actually managed to capture the beast that came prowling into their garden. But is it a chupacabra?
I decided I'm gonna go ahead and try to trap it. It's just in me to do that. I'm just a sportsman when it comes to wildlife and stuff like that. This thing here, it was different and I wanted it. I had a platform, went out to right here, and that's where I put the trap. They say that these things can jump high. I don't know, I've never seen one jump, but I've heard people say that they can really jump high. And that night, about 11:30, 12 o'clock, we had it trapped.
We couldn't believe it was that easy. Yeah.
But ours looked like a small canine of sorts, you know.
So I fed it dog food, and he loved it.
My uncle caught one. Well, it got my attention. So I came out here with the kids, and sure enough, we saw the chupacabra. And it was ugly.
He would growl.
Almost like a dog's growl or something, you know.
You wouldn't want to put your hand in the cage.
I was kind of scared. And then here it is. And it hissed.
It was just a weird sound. I was glad it was in the cage.
For the first time in Texas history, a monster was captured alive. The media was quick to pick up the story.
We took it to town, and the Cuero Record, which is our newspaper in Cuero, they come and took pictures of it and put it in the paper, and then
Well, the word spread.
somebody said, well, it's been in New York. And somebody said it was over in Korea and in Vietnam and someplace up in Montana. And it just went everywhere. We had no idea that it was gonna catch on like that. No idea. It was something else.
Oh, it was very much the talk of the town. You could go to any coffee shop or any place, any restaurant, and that was what individuals were visiting about.
I just remember the article in the paper and the picture in the papers just stood out in my mind because it was so unique. At first I thought, well, maybe there is something to this chupacabra because that thing is alive and completely hairless and it really looks like a different kind of animal.
But was the frail creature captured by the Stokes a monster?
We had a family actually catch in a live trap a critter, again, that was experiencing hair loss, kind of really strange, distorted looking critter that was alive.
And they called me and they're like, oh my gosh, we have a baby chupacabra. And as soon as I looked in it, it's like, well, that's not a chupacabra. And they're like,
but I think it was determined that it was a raccoon or something like that, that again had a severe case of sarcoptic mange.
Travis Shar, I'm a veterinarian in Victoria, Texas. I've had a couple people, ranchers, that have shot what they thought might be a chupacabra, and they come in and they bring it here and they say, "What do you think, Dr. Shar?" And I'll look at it and I say, "Well, it looks like a mangy coyote." And so on one or two of them, I've actually done a little skin test, and sure enough, they've had sarcoptic mange. Mange is a name for the disease caused by a parasite, a mite, that gets down into the hair follicles, into the skin, and typically will cause the hair to fall out.
Some people said it was a raccoon with mange. Well, I never once saw him scratch or act uncomfortable.
The skin pigmentation on that thing was good, and it had no sores or no red spots, or it did not scratch or anything to that effect, you know, so that thing does not have mange.
they put cat food in the cage, and it actually picked it up and ate it with both hands, which is what a coon does, a raccoon. I'm like, and they just didn't want to believe it.
He had a growl, which the old coon hunters said was a sound unlike a raccoon makes.
It's a raccoon. There's no two ways around it.
It was at the Dairy Queen one morning in the back of the truck, and I have some friends that come out, and they all said that thing does not have mange.
I'm thinking it could be something that's come over from Mexico. We were advised to not turn it loose, that we had to have it euthanized, which we did, humanely.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with that ugly thing.
For her part, Dr. Phyllis Canyon is not giving up. She hopes to be the first to capture a real living chupacabra.
Oh, the trap stayed up for about 4 years. When the animal goes in and steps on that, traps them. We caught a lot of stuff in it. We caught coons in it, and possums in it, and skunks in it, but the elusive chupacabra. That one is a challenge. So, gives me more incentive to just keep looking and trying to figure it out and think, how can it be smarter than me? That's what I think a lot. We just keep looking for them.
Although to date, no chupacabra has been captured alive, here in Texas, people continue to believe in them. Because day after day, the people of South Texas continue to spot unusual creatures on their land. What's going on in this region?
The reason why we're seeing so many maybe in this area is just the landscape of the county in this part of the state has changed. Because the oil and gas activity, where we have a lot of land, it's being pushed down in an oil well. Instead of brush, it's now an oil well. So I think it's probably dispersed. The wildlife population probably does explain some, the fact that there's more sightings.
The oil industry has only started to become so affluent within the past 3 years. This happened 7 years ago when there was not much oil around here. Do I believe that has something to do with it? No. Now, could you have a mutation? Yep. But a mutation could be 1 in a million. I have seen 4 of these within 4 days. That's not a mutation. Are there any facilities anywhere within our ranch, 150 miles, that perhaps have contaminated water? No, nothing anywhere in sight. It would have affected our deer population and our coyote population and our wolf population that we see right now, and they all still look the same.
The other change would be the environmental conditions have changed. We've been in and out of a drought now for probably 10 years or more. We've had droughts followed by a lot of rain. I think maybe environmental conditions have caused these mites that cause the sarcoptic mange to thrive.
For Anthony Natardis, the mystery has a simple solution.
If I recall, back then in 2007, Phyllis actually contacted my office as well as the game biologist and the game warden in this area. And all of us said the same thing, that this was probably again, a coyote that was out there or a fox that had a severe case of mange.
Are these guys buffoons? A fox? A fox body is this big. So it's not a fox, you guys. This animal is huge. And this mange kept coming up. But every picture that I came across actually showed patches of hair missing.
So typically when you have mange due to skin mites, the skin will look diseased because, number one, the hair's out. Number two, they've scratched. Number three, they get a bacterial infection, so they get scabby, flaky, inflamed, abnormal-looking skin.
As you can see, there's no hair anywhere on it, yet when you get the right angle, you can see the amount of fuzz that covers the body. And again, that would not be indigenous with an animal that actually has mange. But nor did the skin look like it was infected. Nowhere did it look like it had mange. Why are the eyes so brilliant blue? Why does the front leg appear to be shorter than the back leg? Why is the top mandible longer than the bottom mandible?
You know, that disease, as it enrages the body in advanced forms, can really distort the look of the hide, the skin, the facial features. So they're really scary. And I can see how people would, you know, latch onto a story and call it a chupacabra or whatever else they want to call it.
Some people are absolutely convinced that there is a different kind of animal out there. Others are not. I'm one of those probably who's not convinced.
What it would take for me to believe in the chupacabra is scientific evidence.
It would take some reputable biologists to tell me that their DNA and all is different.
Looking for absolute proof, Dr. Phyllis Canyon decided to submit the carcass of her dead chupacabra to the ultimate test, DNA analysis.
So I contacted UC Davis, University of California in Davis, California. They are the largest forensics animal university in the United States, and said, I have an animal that I want to do DNA on. So after about 8 weeks, they called me and they said, we have the results in, and are you sitting down? And I'm like, yes, I am.
After 8 weeks, Dr. Canyon received the DNA analysis results. The findings were startling, to say the least.
They said this is a mix between a coyote on the maternal side and a Mexican wolf on the paternal side. And how does that happen? Because those two do not breed. So the DNA does not match anything in your annals of history with DNA in animals, and they're like, none.
Can a wolf and a coyote breed? Some say yes, some say no. So, and I think it's plausible.
Dr. Shar also conducted analyses to determine if the creature had scabies.
Most common reason we see dogs without hair is because of mites. And so you diagnose that by doing a true biopsy where we cut a piece of that skin off. And we sent that skin to an official pathology lab.
And the result?
And they did not find any type of mites, skin mites.
But if the animal had no skin disease, how do we explain its lack of hair? And can this hybrid beast really drain the blood of its prey?
They cannot suck the blood. It is not anatomically possible. They can bite them, in particular if they bite them on the neck, obviously, because you have the carotid and the jugular, which are your major blood vessels. And number one, it's a very vulnerable place for fighting. And then when they cut those or bite those, that blood's going to squirt out. They can sit there and lick and consume the blood by licking it, which a lot of animals like blood. I mean, it's supposed to be a very palatable protein. You know, people eat blood. I mean, there's blood sausage that people eat. So I think that is their meal of choice, maybe, is this blood, is why I look at it. So do I believe there is an animal without hair that's a few different features and it want to be named a Chupacabra? Name it a Chupacabra is my scientific thought. I think that's a perfect name for this if it is indeed a new breed, which if there is a coyote-wolf cross, what do you want to call it? You want to call it a coyote wolf? Call it a coyote wolf. You want to call it a Chupacabra? Name it a Chupacabra.
A new species or a mythical monster? In Cuero, opinions are divided.
Do I believe? I believe anything is possible.
Do we call it something different, or do we call it what that name is?
As a professional in the business, we just know it as a fun thing for people to have fun with, as a mythical creature.
It's hard because that name is so tied with being a mythical animal. It's kind of like the boogeyman.
I'm the type of person, I like to believe in folklore and myths. I still believe in Santa Claus and Tinkerbell.
Because we have seen a number of them, and a number of them have been killed, hit by cars, and so forth, there are a lot of people who believe they are a different animal.
I saw them. I know they exist, whatever this was.
It's just not enough data for me to give a coherent answer, to be honest.
And we know it's not a dog, and that it's not a mangy coyote or a mangy wolf. But what is it really? The mystery continues.
So as long as no one says this isn't a Chupacabra, you can't really say. Can't really say which one, who is right. Can't really say.
Cuero and the surrounding plains have more to offer than the hunt for the Chupacabra.
A lot of the tourists who come to this community are looking for heritage because of the history of the city of Cuero and DeWitt County, because we can go back to the 1830s and the 1840s. You have a lot of people who are coming in to do some hunting and fishing. The Cuero Heritage Museum is expanding.
And this museum is full of curiosities.
Upstairs is, as far as I know, the world's largest collection of juice reamers in a museum. And in fact, I think it's the only significant collection in any museum. The oldest is probably this one. It's the first patented juice reamer in the United States.
We have probably 5,000 individuals who come in the springtime and enjoy the wildflowers of DeWitt County.
Cuero is the wildflower capital of Texas, and the surrounding area is just filled with fields of color.
We have 10 to 12,000 people who come in October to enjoy Turkey Fest and all of those activities and watch the turkeys race.
And so that's a big celebration in October. It's quite an event.
But of course, the Chupacabra remains an iconic figure.
There's a reputation out there about the Chupacabra. It's spread out. So we get people who have come here specifically looking for a Chupacabra. So it's helped the tourism, it's helped our reputation.
So saw a lot of people who came into the community to look for the Chupacabra, and they walked away with a t-shirt and maybe a cup of coffee.
I know one lady in our area in Cuero, she sells shirts that say the Chupacabra on it.
Alrighty.
To everywhere. People, I mean, in different countries are interested.
I won't say it's a major impact, but it is definitely an impact.
I think that those sightings by those individuals were, in their minds, very real. They've broadened our horizons. They've brought us to another threshold of education about mythical creatures, as well as the possibility that some animals may be different because of their environment.
The legend of the Chupacabra has left its mark on Cuero. And as for Dr. Canyon, her encounter with the monster changed her life.
You know, this has been 7 years since I first saw the Chupacabra. So for me, the questions always continue, and the quest to find out what it is will never end.